Hi guys, and welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I will be talking about Season 1, which will start tomorrow, and I will explain what you should do during the first few days in order to gear up as fast as possible, and also in order to make quite a lot of gold. So the first thing that I would recommend you to do in order to gear up is to do all the different weekly activities that are available in the different zones of Kazalgar, such as for instance the Theater Troop event in the Isle of Dawn. You also have Awakening the Machine in the Ringing Deeps. You then have the Light event in Adofall, and you have the weekly packed quests that are available in Ashket. And with these different weekly activities, you will be able to get some additional coffer keys for the dells. And with Season 1, you will not be able to do dells with a higher level, which is really good because it means you will be able, when doing these dells with again a better difficulty, to get some really good pieces of gear. So this should be one of the first things you need to do because again, this is solo content and it means you will be able to get gear up ahead of all the different raids, mythics, dungeons, and all these other activities. After that, while Mythic Plus won't be available before 1 week after the release of Season 1, you will still be able to do the different dungeons in Mythic difficulty, and so I would recommend you to do these different dungeons in order to get some pretty easy veteran gear, and like that hopefully you will be able to have a full set of veteran gear with, of course, all the gear you will already get from the delves. So this is something that definitely can be useful and that I would recommend you to do as fast as possible. And if your gear is not so good when Season 1 will launch, then I would recommend you to probably do this first and before the delves because you want to already have quite a lot of good gear in order to do the delves at the highest difficulty possible in order to get some of the best rewards from this solo content. After that, of course, what I would recommend you to do next is the new raids. So especially I think normal difficulty is going to be pretty accessible and hopefully you will be able to get invited. Remember, if you're playing as a tank or a healer, you will have even more chances at being invited. And so definitely this is a good way for you to get some champion level of gear, which is really good. And of course, you will be able to do that in heroic difficulty as well, even though it's going to be a little bit more challenging at the start of the season to do heroic difficulty simply because you will need a lot of high level in order to find a group and to be invited. But you will still be able, hopefully, during the week at some point to at least do a few of these different bosses in this difficulty. And then you also have the first wing of the LFR difficulty that will be available. So here again, it can be a pretty good way to get some additional veteran gear. And remember also from the third boss that will be available, you will be able to get the tier set parts, the gloves of your set. So that can also be very useful because like that you can already start building your tier set. Then once you've done all these different things, I would also recommend you to use your second fracture spark of omens that normally you will get by doing the different weekly activities and weekly quests. And with that, you will be able to get another spark of omens and you will be able to craft another good pieces of gear. So here again, if after doing the raids and the dells, you're still missing some very important armor pieces, then you can use the spark of omens to craft one yourself. And so that's why I would recommend you to maybe wait a little bit because then you can really target the item that you want. And like that, you can make the best use out of this Spark of Omens. Then remember that also tomorrow you will have access to the Catalyst. So the Catalyst will allow you to transform any of your veteran or higher pieces of gear into tier set parts. And so that can be very, very useful if you are missing some of them. And probably during the first week, you won't be able to get a 4-tier set. So this is something that can be super useful. And remember, this is not something that will be available every week. So this is very important for you to be strategic with how you use this catalyst because again, you won't be able to do that again and again. So I would really recommend you here to wait to first do the raid in the different difficulties to see if you can get some of these different tier set parts through the raid directly. And then like that, you will be able to really target the different items that you need. And I think this is the best way to make the best use of this now. And I really think this is the best way to make a good use of this catalyst. And if you're wondering, the catalyst is located just here in Dornogal. So it's really just at this specific location right here. Another important thing that you can do, but maybe it's going to be a little bit difficult to actually achieve that during the first week of Season 1, is this achievement right here, the War Within Season 1 Spelunker Supreme. So basically, you will need to either attain 1600 plus in rated PvP rating, defeat Queen and Surek on Heroic or Mythic difficulty, or attain 2000 plus Mythic plus rating. So this last one is not even doable during the first week. But for instance, if you defeat Queen and Surek in Heroic difficulty or get 1600, you will be able to get the mark of the Spelunker Supreme. And with that, you will be able to exchange it for pieces of gear, and this is the different tier sets. So this is something that can be also very, very useful. But again, this is something that might be a little bit tricky to do in 1 week only. So only for those of you who are really, really good at the game, you will be able to get this new mark. Now let's talk about goal making. So here the main thing that I want to really recommend you to do is to try and find some groups to farm all the new raid BoEs in heroic difficulty. So as you can see, you will be able to get all these different items right here. And trust me, these different items will sell for a lot of gold, especially during the first few days. So what you have to do really is simply get a little bit of gear in order to be invited in these different groups. And then you will need to go in the group finders, in the raids or in custom. And here you just want to type a BOE, and usually you will have some groups that will be available. Again, it is pretty competitive to get into these different groups, and usually people will only invite you if you have a good eye level. But this is something you can definitely try to do during these first few days of Season 1, because this is really when these different BOEs are going to sell for the most gold. And remember, of course, if you are playing on a low pop realm, and sadly there's not a lot of people who are willing to spend a lot of gold on this type of items, you can always use your Warband Bank. And with your Warband Bank, you will like that be able to get these different items, put them in the Warband Bank, and then go on a high pop realm, especially the ones where you know there's a lot of very good guilds that are doing, for instance, Mythic raiding, Mythic plus, and all these PvE activities. So these different people will spend a lot of gold on this type of BOEs. And so you can just do that, go on these realms, sell these different items there, and hopefully you will be able to sell them fast and for a lot of gold. Now, next to that, I would also recommend you to do the new raid. And the reason why you really want to do the new raid in all the different difficulties is because the different bosses will have a chance at dropping some pretty good recipes and plants, and all of them are BOEs, and you will like that be able to then sell them on the auction house. So this is something you can do in all the different difficulties you can see. So even the first 3 bosses from LFR, on the third one, you will have a chance at getting, for instance, this one. So try really to do that, because in the process, of course, you will get some good pieces of gear. You will be able to gear up. And also, if you are lucky, you will maybe get some of these different recipes and plants, and then you will be able to sell them on the auction house for tons and tons of gold. Or, of course, you can also decide to learn them and then craft these different items and make some gold like that as well. And here again, if you're playing on the low pop realm and you're not sure these different items are going to sell, you can always transfer them on a high pop realm and sell them there. Now, the last thing that I want to mention is, of course, the fact that with the start of Season 1, people will need way more consumables and all these different items that will help them to become more powerful when doing raiding, Mythic Plus, and even PvP. And so I would recommend you to also try and make some gold quickly with these different items. Again, as the new expansion already launched a few weeks ago, these different items are already not, let's say, super profitable, but maybe there's gonna have a little rise in prices, and so I would recommend you to try and check that, especially all the different food items, all the different flasks and potions, and also some of the other good items that everyone is using, such as the different gems and these type of things. Try to craft all these consumables and embellishments, because you will again have a chance at making more gold during this first season of the War Within. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. I will be back very soon with more guides and more videos, and in the meantime I wish you all a great day. Bye!